Welcome to a conversation that might just shift everything you think you know about success and being her. I want to share something profound with you, something I discovered while sitting on my balcony with my daughter, watching birds instead of scrolling my phone, eating fresh berries, and just breathing. When was the last time you did that? Really stopped and just existed without an agenda or outcome in mind? Here's the first truth that's going to challenge everything. Success doesn't always look like movement. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is stop, stay, or simply observe. We've been indoctrinated into this hustle culture that tells us unless we're moving, grinding, achieving, we're failing. But where exactly are you rushing to? Your inevitable end? Because that's where we're all headed eventually. I used to be pure lava inside, constantly moving, never stopping, burning through everything in my path. If you stood in my way, I'd flow right through you without pause. But even lava needs to cool down sometimes. My body started showing signs. My lips cracking. Stress manifesting physically in ways that couldn't be ignored. Traditional Chinese medicine told me exactly what I needed to hear. Chill out, drink some dandelion tea, and just pause for a moment. Success isn't rooted in random flailing or constant motion for the sake of looking busy. It's rooted in alignment first, then intentional action. Especially as women, our feminine intuition needs space to breathe and be heard above the noise. I had planned this elaborate trip, bringing my kids, doing podcasts, meeting people, but every time I thought about it, stress overwhelmed my entire system. So I canceled. I chose alignment over obligation, and it was the best decision I could have made. The best success I've had hasn't come from folding to pressure or becoming who others want me to be. It's come from being exactly who I am, honoring my rhythms, and trusting my inner wisdom. The revenue, the personal growth, how I look, everything flows when I follow my intuition. And sometimes that intuition tells me to stop moving and start being present to what's already here. Let me reframe your entire worldview about attraction and magnetism. The version of you who is grounded in her own energy is infinitely more magnetic than the one constantly chasing opportunities, people, or arbitrary timelines that someone else created. In my 20s, I was always running after something: the next opportunity, the perfect relationship, deadlines that ultimately meant nothing in the grand scheme of my life. Here's what I learned through years of exhausting myself. The most charismatic and magnetic people in this universe are those who seem completely comfortable in themselves. You can become wildly successful from a small island in Fiji rather than chasing something that was never meant for you in the first place. The world is global now. You can create an incredible business from your living room while your kids nap, reaching people across continents without leaving your sanctuary. I get this question constantly from mothers. But I can't work outside the home. The kids need me. I'm stuck. Listen carefully. You have talents the world desperately wants and needs. If you are present in yourself and grounded in your unique journey, people will gravitate toward you naturally. They'll be drawn to what's impressive, interesting, and authentically grounded about you, not to someone running around trying to sell themselves like a handbag going out of style. This applies to relationships too, and it's where most of us get confused. Roger doesn't value you more because you show up at the bar every time he's there, making yourself constantly available. Jack won't appreciate you more because you attend every single game he plays, dropping everything for his schedule. Stop the performing and come back to center. Understand that the most magnetic person in any room is the one who flails around the least while radiating the most authentic, grounded energy. When you're burnt out from doing everything just to be seen and validated, that's your signal to make this crucial mind shift. Ground yourself in who you are, what you uniquely offer this world, and trust that what's meant for you will find you when you stop desperately chasing it around like a lost puppy. Here's a truth that needs to land deep in your soul and stay there. You don't need to earn rest with exhaustion. Rest isn't something you purchase with burnout tokens collected through suffering. Your beautiful human body that carries you through life, that maybe has made babies or cares for people or does incredible things daily, doesn't need to earn love and care from you. You are not a machine programmed to work around the clock until you break down. We're not living in the Industrial Revolution where you clock in and clock out, where the early bird gets the worm, and all that outdated rhetoric that was designed for a completely different world. If you've never felt attracted to traditional work schedules, but you're an incredible caregiver for your family, I'm applauding you right now. This truth hits especially hard if you're someone who feels guilty taking a day off when you weren't productive by society's standards. I have help 2 days a week so I can work on my business, but do you think I do anything nurturing for myself during those precious work days? Absolutely not. I got confused thinking that my work was the replenishment I needed. It's not, work can be fulfilling, but it's not rest. Rest is your fundamental right as a human being. Rest recalibrates your magnetism and your internal compass. It makes you more vibrant and nourishing to be around, like fruit that's been naturally ripening on a tree versus something mass produced, picked too early and wrapped in plastic. You need that organic juiciness to develop if you're going to be truly magnetic and alive. The cycle isn't work yourself to exhaustion, burn out completely, then finally deserve rest. You deserve to shower without someone climbing on you. You deserve quiet moments, delicious food eaten slowly without multitasking, time to breathe without feeling guilty about it. You don't owe the world your depletion. In fact, the world needs you vibrant, rested, and fully alive, not running on empty while pretending everything's fine. Even if you miss the train, the flight, the moment, the opportunity that everyone said was the one life will meet you exactly where you are. Life isn't happening in some future destination that you're desperately trying to reach. It's happening right now, in this moment, in the space between your inhale and exhale. Life is those small, precious moments you remember. When you're sitting with your brother near a lake, watching him throw stones while you notice an incredibly beautiful leaf changing colors in the afternoon light. You can cancel an event that doesn't feel right, miss a timeline that was never yours to begin with, or turn down a job that doesn't align with your values. You need to trust that timing is co-created with the universe, not a punishment system designed to keep you small. If you don't jump on that particular train, yes, it leaves the station, but life continues unfolding perfectly for you in ways you can't even imagine yet. This especially applies to all the lies women are told about timelines. Timeline pressure only affects you if you make decisions from fear instead of wisdom. Even if you do make unwise choices based on panic, you can always course correct. Take dating, for example. Society tells women they're past their prime after a certain age, as if we're produce with expiration dates. This is completely false and designed to make you settle. If you treat yourself terribly, and by 35 you look like a shadow of yourself, tired, unhealthy, burnt out, bitter, then yes, your options might seem limited. However, if you're 35 and you've treated yourself like the queen you are, your options actually expand exponentially. You can date across wider age ranges. You have more life experience and wisdom. You know yourself better and won't tolerate nonsense. Life is entirely about perspective and the stories you choose to believe. You haven't missed anything crucial. You're not behind on some imaginary schedule created by people who don't even know you. You're simply having a beautifully human experience, complete with perfect timing that you can't always see from your current vantage point. Trust that life will meet you exactly when and where you need it most. Sometimes stillness is exactly how you hear your next instruction from the universe. When you're constantly rushing around asking, what should I write about? What should I do next? What's the right choice? Where should I move? Who should I date? You're creating too much internal noise to actually receive the guidance that's always available to you. I'm building a house, raising 2 kids under 5, running a top 25 education podcast, and serving a community of incredible people who rely on this journey for inspiration and wisdom. It's a lot by anyone's standards. Every day I used to ask myself what's next, constantly pushing for the next achievement, the next milestone, the next level. Then I realized something profound. I'm already doing enough. More than enough, actually. If you stop for a moment and create genuine stillness, you can actually see clearly what's in front of you. When you get quiet and let the external noise fade into the background, truth whispers to you in the most beautiful way. But you can't hear those whispers if everything around you is screaming and buzzing like a chaotic train station during rush hour. You know you have this problem if you're constantly looking for signs everywhere, saying, I don't know what to do on repeat like a broken record. The answer isn't in more movement or more searching or asking more people for their opinions. It's in creating space for your inner wisdom to emerge naturally. This applies whether you're deciding on career moves, relationship choices, where to live, or major life direction changes. Your intuition is incredibly sophisticated and wise, but it needs silence to operate effectively. Think of it like trying to hear a beautiful piece of classical music while construction noise blares in the background. Absolutely impossible. Create pockets of genuine stillness in your life. Not just physical stillness, but mental and emotional quiet too. Turn off the inputs, stop consuming everyone else's opinions and advice, and listen. Your next right step is already there, waiting patiently for you to create enough space to hear it clearly. Here's a truth that might sting initially, but will ultimately set you free. Love doesn't need to be earned through performance. If you're over functioning in any relationship, constantly trying to prove your worth, you're not operating from love, you're operating from fear. And there's a massive difference between the two that changes everything about how you show up. If you're doing all the emotional labor, second guessing what he's going to do next, trying to preempt every situation, control outcomes, make sure everyone's happy while neglecting yourself, you're not loving, you're earning. That's not you being in love. That's you being in survival mode. Often, this represents childhood patterns where maybe your dad worked constantly and didn't give attention, so now you feel like you have to work impossibly hard to make people care about you. What you need to do instead is step back and trust the process. Love that's meant for you will meet you halfway, just like divine timing in your life. If you stop making excessive effort and performing for approval, you will not lose the person who's truly meant for you. This is terrifying, but absolutely true. And it's the only way to find authentic connection. Real love doesn't require you to shrink, perform constantly, or prove your worth daily. It doesn't demand that you monitor your every word or action for potential rejection. Healthy love feels spacious and breathing, not suffocating and exhausting. It feels natural and flowing, not forced and effortful. If someone makes you feel like you're too much, too emotional, too intense, too passionate, too anything, they're simply not for you. This isn't necessarily anyone's fault. It's just incompatibility showing you the truth. Some people need a pint glass of attention and connection. Others need just a shot glass. When these two types try to match up, nobody wins and everyone feels frustrated. Let your authentic fullness filter the room naturally. The right people will stay, celebrate your intensity, and love you for exactly who you are without requiring you to dim yourself. Stop making yourself smaller to make others comfortable. Be the explosion of stars that you are, and trust that the right people will be drawn to your light rather than intimidated by it. Your worth is not a consensus, and one rejection doesn't constitute a universal survey of your value as a human being. Yet somehow, a single no from one person can shake your confidence so thoroughly that you feel like you've been assessed by some cosmic quality control department and deemed permanently defective. But that's not how life works, and that's definitely not how worth operates in the universe. Being misunderstood isn't a failure. It's often a clear sign of your beautiful originality and unique perspective. You don't have to prove yourself to anyone or read people the detailed rights of who you actually are behind the surface they're judging. When someone doesn't see your value, it says absolutely nothing about your inherent worth and everything about compatibility, timing, their current emotional capacity, or simply different preferences. It's like bringing a masterpiece painting to someone who only appreciates sculptures. The painting isn't less valuable because it's not their preferred art form or aesthetic style. You don't need to explain yourself endlessly. justify your choices to people who weren't asked, or convince anyone of your worthiness through exhausting presentations. Let people misunderstand you completely. Let them have their opinions and judgments. Their perception of you is not your reality, and it's certainly not your truth or your assignment to correct. What you miss in breakups or rejections is often the version of yourself who was hopeful and excited about possibilities, not the actual relationship itself or even that specific person. You miss your romanticized idea of how life could unfold, the holidays you were planning in your mind, your beautiful, childlike view of the world where everything works out perfectly. Reclaim that hopeful, dreaming version of yourself and give her something tangible to be excited about that doesn't depend on someone else's approval, presence, or validation. The reverence for life, the beauty that surrounds you daily, the magic you can create independently with your own hands and heart, that's where your real power lives and thrives. Detachment isn't cold or unfeeling, it's spiritual protection for your peace of mind and energy. We protect our bank accounts with passwords, our homes with locks, our physical safety by avoiding dangerous situations. Yet somehow we never think to protect our spiritual and emotional selves with the same level of intentionality and wisdom. If you feel guilty for not chasing relationships, trying to fix every broken dynamic, or forcing outcomes that clearly aren't flowing, you desperately need more healthy detachment in your life. Detachment doesn't mean becoming an unfeeling, cold person who shuts down emotionally and isolates forever. It means choosing inner peace over external control, and that's a profound act of self-love and spiritual maturity. True detachment is understanding that nothing actually belongs to you permanently. You came into this world as yourself, you'll leave with yourself, and everything else is simply an experience for you to observe and participate in, like going to the cinema. You can choose to engage deeply with the story unfolding or sit back and watch with perspective, but you're not required to jump into the screen and fix the entire plot. This perspective shift changes everything about how you move through life. Instead of gripping tightly to outcomes, trying to force relationships to work against their natural flow, or controlling how others perceive and respond to you, you can flow with what life presents. You can love fully while holding lightly, care deeply without being consumed by results. When you practice healthy detachment, you're not withdrawing from life or becoming apathetic. You're engaging with it from a place of centered strength rather than desperate need. You can care deeply about people and outcomes without being consumed by whether things go your way. You can love without losing yourself in the process. This is spiritual maturity in action. Understanding that your peace of mind is more valuable than any specific outcome, and that true connection and success flow naturally when you stop strangling them with control and desperation. There is no universal timeline that you're failing or falling behind on, despite what social media and society constantly try to convince you. There is only alignment or misalignment with your authentic path and unique journey. Women write to me saying, I'm 40 and haven't done this and that, but I'm equally shocked when 20-year-olds say the exact same thing with the same panic. What timeline are we even measuring against? Who created these arbitrary rules? If you compare your path and milestones to everyone around you, to carefully curated Instagram highlight reels, to societal expectations that were designed decades ago, you need to stop immediately and ask yourself this crucial question. Do I actually want what they have, or am I just afraid of being different? Because there is no cosmic schedule, no universal truth about when things should happen, no predetermined script for how your unique life should unfold. Comparison is the thief of intuition and original thinking. You stop trusting your brilliant ideas because they don't look like hers. You stop trusting your natural timeline because it doesn't match what she's doing at her age. In the podcast space, everyone was doing interview-style shows, so I felt intense pressure to follow that trend and format. But my intuition kept saying, keep talking directly to your audience, keep having these intimate one-on-one conversations. When you mute external noise and opinions, your power lives in your own voice and originality. If you compare yourself constantly to others' journeys, you will absolutely mute your intuition and inner wisdom. Your inner guidance gets completely drowned out by the shoulds and supposed tos of other people's paths that have nothing to do with yours. You don't need to go viral to be valuable or worthy of attention. Real value is built on quiet, consistency, and authentic connection, not just viral moments that disappear quickly. I used to post beautiful photos in perfect outfits because I thought that's what the algorithm wanted, obsessing over grid colors and aesthetic instead of substance and meaning. But everything changed when I started talking about what actually matters to me and my audience. Quiet consistency and honoring your unique intuition builds incredible, lasting projects and relationships. Trust your own timing, your own path, your own definition of success that feels authentic to who you're becoming. It's perfectly okay to be soft and strategic simultaneously. In fact, this combination is incredibly powerful. If we're embracing feminine energy, does that mean we just bake sourdough and braid our hair all day while abandoning all ambition? Absolutely not. Feminine energy is actually the most respected and revered force in the universe when properly understood and wielded with intention. Feminine strength is fluid, intelligent, and observant, like a cobra resting peacefully on a warm rock, completely still yet ready to make a precise, powerful move when the perfect moment presents itself. This is strategic feminine power in action, and I need to write The Art of War, but specifically for women, because what currently exists was written entirely for masculine energy patterns and approaches. If you think you have to be hard, aggressive, or masculine to be respected in business or life, you're completely wrong. You need to be strategic to be respected, and feminine strategy is incredibly sophisticated. Many Greek goddesses were revered for being strategically superior even to the male gods, valued specifically for their wisdom and tactical intelligence rather than brute force or intimidation. Feminine strategy involves watching carefully, waiting for the right moment, feeling into situations with your intuition, and then moving with precision rather than force. It's about influence rather than control, attraction rather than pursuit, wisdom rather than aggression. This approach is incredibly powerful and effective when you trust it fully. You can be deeply intuitive and simultaneously brilliant at business negotiations. You can be nurturing with your children and also negotiate like a queen in professional settings. You can honor your emotions while making strategic decisions that serve your long-term goals. These aren't contradictions, they're the full spectrum of feminine power and intelligence. The world desperately needs your particular brand of soft strength right now. It needs your ability to read energy and situations, to influence through authenticity rather than manipulation, to create positive change through connection rather than domination. Stop apologizing for being both gentle and powerful. That combination is your unique superpower. You're not flaky or inconsistent, you're just evolving faster than you can keep up with, and that's actually beautiful. If you're in a phase where you've decided to change directions completely, and you've been taught to stick to your goals, stay consistent, complete what you start no matter what, listen carefully. Sometimes pivoting when you realize something isn't working is actually self-respect and wisdom in action. We've been conditioned to believe that changing course means we're inconsistent, unreliable, or don't have what it takes to succeed. But what if you've simply outgrown that version of yourself who set those original goals? What if the direction that made perfect sense 6 months ago no longer aligns with who you're becoming? Pivoting isn't quitting, it's maturing and honoring your growth. The dream might be completely real and valid, but the timeline you've attached to it might be completely made up and arbitrary. I don't think having kids is for me. It hasn't happened and I'm 36. But have you attached a fear-based timeline to something that could unfold beautifully at exactly the right moment? I've worked at this company for years. Maybe advancement isn't meant to be. Maybe the dream of meaningful, well-paid work is absolutely real, just not at that particular company or in that specific role. Just because the guy you dated didn't recognize or value what you offer doesn't mean the dream of deep, authentic love isn't real and waiting for you. Just because your first book idea didn't pan out the way you imagined doesn't mean you're not meant to be a writer. The timeline might be wrong, the specific vehicle might not be right, but the core dream could be absolutely valid and destined. Detach from the clock and the societal pressure to arrive somewhere at a specific time. What exactly are you rushing toward anyway? Stay devoted to the essence of the dream, not the deadline or the exact form you thought it had to take. Trust that your life is unfolding in perfect timing, even when you can't see the bigger picture from where you're standing. Sometimes the detours, delays, and seeming failures are actually protecting you from something that wasn't quite right, or preparing you for something even better than what you originally envisioned for yourself. When you stop chasing desperately, you start attracting naturally, not just people and opportunities, but peace itself. You begin attracting the ability to breathe deeply and exhale fully without anxiety. When you force outcomes instead of allowing space for natural flow, you create resistance against everything that wants to come to you organically. I used to try to control everything in my life, every outcome, every person's response, every timeline. You could print that on a t shirt, and it would perfectly describe my entire approach to life for years. But when I finally released the death grip on controlling outcomes, everything that was meant for me started flowing toward me naturally and effortlessly. My husband's attention and love, the children I desperately wanted, the business success I'd been striving for, all of it came when I stopped chasing and started trusting the process. It's like you become a powerful magnet when you're not desperately pursuing or grasping. There's something almost magical about this energetic shift that people can sense immediately. People can feel the difference between someone who's needy and grasping versus someone who's complete within themselves and genuinely open to connection without attachment to specific outcomes. This doesn't mean becoming passive, indifferent, or completely hands off with your life. It means acting from inspiration rather than desperation, choosing from abundance rather than scarcity, engaging from fullness rather than emptiness. When you're not attached to specific outcomes, you can show up authentically instead of performatively, and that authenticity is magnetic. Being too much becomes a perfect natural filter system when you embrace it. When you're authentically yourself, funny, sarcastic, intense, emotional, passionate, whatever that looks like for you, you naturally repel people who can't handle your energy and attract those who celebrate it. This is perfect sorting happening automatically without you having to figure out who belongs in your life. Build a life where you genuinely feel like the main character of your own story, not a supporting character in everyone else's company. A dream girl isn't someone who has it all perfectly together. She's someone who trusts herself completely through everything. She does it for the plot, understanding that even the challenging chapters make the story interesting, meaningful, and worth living.